James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Do any of these sound familiar to you? If so, you're probably a fan of Roald Dahl. His birthday, the 13th of September, celebrates this creative master and all the work he's produced, bringing stories of fiction and wonder to children everywhere in the world. Our showcase producer, Nursena Tuter, is with us to speak about the legendary author. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
He's very famous today. I remember in my childhood, I used to read his books all the time, and he was a big part of my life. But was he as famous back in his time?
Not as famous, but famous definitely, because he had a very interesting life. He was in the British Air Force during World War II. He was in British intelligence service, supplying information for Prime Minister Winston Churchill on US President Roosevelt. He went to Africa when he was working for a shell company. He got married to a Hollywood star. He had a very interesting life. It was all about ups and downs. And because he had very wide network of important people, he was able to get a lot of fame when he did write something. Like, for instance, his first children's book, The Gremlins. When he published that, Walt Disney adapted into a movie instantly, because even First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt was reading it. So he was more than one thing. So yeah, he did get famous.
Speaking about his life, he wrote tons of books for children, and they were very fun and playful books, but was he like that personally?
Yeah, his life is full of quirky stories, especially his childhood. I mean, just imagine a boy from Norway, they're actually from Norway, going to an English boarding school during winter and going back to Norway for holidays to listen to his grandmother's horror stories. Like I said, he experienced war trauma. He lost a lot of his friends. He had very interesting connections, and he was able to see a lot of different things in different phases of his life. So these different stories, these interesting stories, got in his books. So he did write whatever he experienced.
Do you think that the events that he's come across in his life reflects in his literature?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I have two very funny stories to prove that. The first one is actually very interesting to me. It's very close to my heart because I think it proves how wild his imagination went, even when he was just little. So this famous chocolate company, Cadbury, would send every so often a box full of chocolate to his school. So the students would eat the chocolates and write reviews so that the company would know what to expect before they put the product onto the market. So this process, this experience, got little Roald Dahl wondering. In one of his interviews, he says he was so curious. He imagined this room full of serious professionals trying to come up with a new chocolate recipe every day. He said, like, this had to be some sort of a job. So that's how Willy Wonka came. That's how he imagined him, like trying to come up with a new recipe. The second one is the second story is very mischievous. So when he was 8 or 9, there was this very beautiful local candy shop. But the owner, Mrs. Pratchett, was a horrible person to children. She would yell at them, and she would threaten them. But with his, so he had to do something to rectify this. With his schoolmates, little Roald Dahl put a dead mouse in one of the jars.
And that was one of the times where he got abused in that school.
Because at the end, the boys got caned by the headmaster.
And that was where Matilda was born.
Exactly. Mrs. Pratchett turned into Miss Trunchbull.
In Matilda.
Yeah.
Well, Nursena, thanks for a great review there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, his legacy is living on indeed, as London-based independent publisher is keeping the Willy Wonka spirit alive.
The 30th of September is children's beloved author Roald Dahl's birthday. He was born 101 years ago and died in 1990. To celebrate the anniversary, publishing company Wonderbly presents a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory inspired book, My Golden Ticket.
Anyone who wants to buy this book can go to our Wonderbly website, put in the name of a child, hit a button, and as if by magic, their very own book will be created and sent to them wherever in the world they live.
After you put in child's, or maybe even your own name, the book comes rhymed with Oompa Loompas, woven into the plot throughout the story. The innovative author's granddaughter, Roald Dahl, is one of those who's excited about the extension to the sweet world.
You know, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he would love it. I think he would absolutely love it. And I think when everyone opens the book, whoever orders the book, when they order the book, because it's not a matter of if, once they've seen it, when they open the book, they're going to realize why it's something so special.
Following in her famous relative's footsteps, she has one more surprise for the fans.
I am in the process of writing my first book. It's not a children's book like his, it's a little older, it's aimed more at teenagers, but I've got some big shoes to fill, so I'm not looking to fill any of them, but I feel very lucky that I have him as inspiration.
To coincide with Roald Dahl Day, the book is also being released on September the 13th.